Bring time now to 19 minutes past 9 and to the opening of the old new Maritime Museum. It's moved from Stanley to Star Ferry and is opening to the public around now. Richard Wesley is the museum director and joins us on the line. Mr. Wesley, good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Thanks. How's it going with the opening?
Well, we had the chief executive here last night, and he did a sterling job opening the museum, and with great fanfare. And we had the Sea School, and they played some wonderful music, and it was a happy time. And the first visitors will be hopefully crossing the threshold at 9:30 this morning.
Okay, we have a message for you from one of our listeners who says, "Hooray!" And it's signed a museum nerd. So, Nadia, thank you very much indeed for that. How is this museum different to the one in Stanley?
Well, it's a lot bigger for a start. So it's 5 times the size physically. So we're going up to about 4,400 square meters, and it's on 4 levels. So we've got a lot more display space. And it's in a very different location. I mean, Stanley's a wonderful spot, and the building was wonderful, but it was too small, and we're much more central. So with the museum on Hong Kong Island, and we've got we're part of the life of the harbour. So we've got the Star Ferries going past every morning, and in a way the exhibits is the harbour and the ships going past, and so you're looking. One minute you're looking in a display case or seeing a little film, and then the next minute you can actually see, what's going on. We've got radar on the roof, and we're really trying to reinforce this idea of just how important maritime affairs have been to Hong Kong's past and its future. So it's very integrated, and that's what's so exciting.
The museum in Stanley was mostly privately funded, if I understand correctly. But this new space, this fabulous new space, has been made possible through a partnership between the government and companies and individuals in the shipping business. This is your press release, right? So can you tell us more about this partnership?
Certainly. I mean, we're very, very fortunate. Stanley it was basically set up through the Hong Kong Ship Owners Association. A little group got together and said, let's make this happen, and they went out and set up an organisation, which is now a registered charity, and they approached the shipping industry and various supporters, individuals, and raised the money to set up the museum and to run it. And at that time the shipping industry was pretty buoyant. But like all not-for-profits, charitable organisations, you do need to reach out, and it became clear that for a long-term future we had to grow, and that was really only possible with support from the government in terms of making a venue. And we were very, very fortunate that the government had the foresight to make available Pier 8, and through a period of negotiation they agreed to fully fund the redevelopment and support us, produce about a third of our annual income, about 4.4 million Hong Kong. The rest we have to raise ourselves through operations, and the private sector and individuals have made possible the creation of an endowment fund and allowed the museum to greatly expand its collection through purchases. So the success of the fundraising encouraged government to get involved, and because the government got involved, we were able to get more support. So it's a virtuous circle, and there's 3 parts: a museum trust, the actual operational unit, which is a company limited by guarantee, and an endowment trust. And so we've got all bases covered, and we're very happy with the relationship with the government.
How much will it cost for entry?
It's adults for $30, children $15, and then for groups we'll have a discount rate, and for school groups it'll be free. And we're very, very keen to not have any barriers for schools to visit and enjoy the site, and that's where our focus is. So we're really looking forward to having good relations with a lot of schools.
But with that location, will it be mostly tourists, you think, who'll be going?
Tourists are obviously an important market in that they've got money in their pocket and want to spend. But, I mean, until we operate, we're not going to be sure. But, I mean, I would hope that, 70-80% of our visitation will be local people who want to know more about our maritime past. I mean, it's going to be convenient for tourists, but we really want to be a community resource. But we'll kind of wait and see. I think the great thing is that we're part of the redevelopment of the foreshore, so it's going to be the lung of the city, and it's going to be a gathering place for people, and I think that will help greatly get local people to come and make the museum part of their leisure day.
Well, there are now 2 exhibition spaces at this new museum venue. Is that right?
Yes.
So what is on display now?
Well, we've got a total of 15 galleries, and 13 what we would call permanent galleries. So they run from China's maritime heritage, stretching back 2,000 or 3,000 years, right up to containerization. So we've got a number of themes that we developed: fun on the water, sport and recreation, ship design, navigation, how ships involved with trade, the Hong Kong harbour between 1841 and 1900, and now its emergence as a superport. But in addition to that, we've got a wonderful new special exhibitions gallery space where we can get items from overseas, from the mainland, and we can curate our own exhibitions. So there'll be an element of change. So people will come once, and then 3 or 4 months' time there'll be something different and exciting on display. Our first exhibition is a multimedia presentation of our wonderful pirate scroll, which has been done in a partnership with City University, so we're very much using Hong Kong expertise, Hong Kong technology, to really explain our stories, and we're very proud of it, and hopefully people will enjoy what we've done.
And how do you approach more sensitive issues like colonisation of Hong Kong and because that's an important story, isn't it? And it's important the naval superiority of the colonising forces and things like that. How do you do that?
Absolutely. I won't say history is history, but we're not. You can't airbrush it. You've got to deal with the facts, and you've got to deal with 1841. The arrival of the British. You've got to deal with the Sino-Japanese War. We've got a whole section on Li Hongzhong who helped modernise China's navy and the establishment of the lighthouse service and the customs service. Using foreign expertise to at the decree of the emperor. What we really want to do is have a more nuanced and sophisticated exploration of some of these issues and get people to talk and debate. And I'm sure people will look at some of the displays and say, well, I don't necessarily agree with that, or what about this, or what about that? And that's the role of a modern museum. We're touching on the Opium Wars, and again, these stories are complex and interesting, and I think the great danger is that, in fact, people actually don't think about these things and don't explore them, because you have to understand where a city like Hong Kong has come from before you can really predict its future or work towards its future. So, that's up to the visitor to decide, how well we've done. But we've certainly we wanted to encourage discussion.
Curatorial independence is, of course, very important, but I'm just interested to know from whose point of view would you be describing the Opium War, for example?
Well, it's very interesting. The great thing about the Maritime Museum is it's got a lot of influences from all over the world because of the nature of the shipping industry, and we've been, as a policy, very open. We've had we've got we've got a lot of local historians, people from Hong Kong University, other universities. We haven't actually, in a sense, not taken a side. We've really come at it from a factual basis and really used artefacts to try and tell the stories. And we've got some interesting paintings, for example, which show some of the clipper ships that were designed to bring in the opium, and then we show local Chinese craft that were used to distribute opium, and it's sort of through the lens really of trade and of the issue of tea and silver and the relationship between trading nations and an imperial system. So that's really kind of the focus of it, and we really want school children to embrace and think about these things and understand how the port grew, understand what happened in the Second World War with Japanese occupation. Hong Kong has got a very complex and interesting history, and that's what we're trying to really remind people of. And it's like the Government History Museum, fantastic facility for understanding how the city is developed, and we want to do the same thing through the lens of maritime affairs.
Okay, well, best of luck with that. Richard Wesley, thank you very much indeed for joining us, Museum Director of the new Hong Kong Maritime Museum at the Star Ferry. Ada, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.